Friends, welcome back to the Ransomed Heart podcast. And over the last 3 weeks now, we've been talking about letting God speak over your life. God knows what we need. He knows what we need in this year. He knows what we need in this summer. He knows what we need in particular seasons in our life. And allowing Him to speak into it, guide us, direct us, and how those words and invitations can be disruptive at times, but also incredibly inviting. So Alan Arnold is back in the studio with me this week as we kind of wrap up sort of this 4-part conversation on what do you need and what is God speaking over your life and what's that provoking in you and what He's doing with that, right?
Right.
So last week, Alan, we were talking about how God gives you this phenomenal word of jubilee over your year. And I think most listeners were going, whoa, I love that word. Are you kidding me? God speaks that.
Right.
But actually how difficult it was
Very.
to believe for jubilee in certain areas of your life. You know, believe for it maybe for your kids, or you can believe for it, at work, but to believe for it in joy and financially and other ways, right?
Very disruptive.
Yeah, super disruptive in really wonderful ways, right?
Yes.
Just our loving God going after us. And I wanted to tell a story, and I want to talk a little bit more about how desire fits into what we're saying and the journey, quote, of desire, not the book, but just a little bit of reflection this week on kind of how God works with us in desires, dreams, and hopes, and us growing up because He's after growing us up. So I want to tell a story recently from a turkey hunt. Stay with me, ladies. So I've never been turkey hunting and initially kind of thought it was just not for me. But a buddy of mine he doesn't own, but he rents a house and lives on a ranch down in the southwestern corner of the state. And his place is crawling with turkeys. And in the springtime, there's a turkey hunt and you kind of go out in the woods, and it's actually really fascinating because they're super smart birds. Ben Franklin actually wanted the turkey to be the national bird for the United States, not the eagle, because he thought the turkey was far more intelligent.
I'm so glad that didn't happen.
Kind of hard to call yourself, right? What's your school's team? We're the turkeys. But they're actually really smart birds, really intelligent, very cunning, very wary in the woods. So actually to go and hunt turkeys is a difficult proposition, not an easy thing. And well, through the weekend, the joke was we were the turkeys in the woods, my buddy and I. So here's the story. So I don't have a lot of margin in my life for joy and play, and do with that what you will, but that's just my reality. And I think it's a lot of people's reality. Good things come in, a lot of good things consume our time, or health concerns, or perhaps we're taking care of a parent or a child that has health issues. And we go through these seasons in our lives where margin becomes a pretty rare commodity, right? And I'm just in a season right now where there's not a lot of margin. And so I want to choose my joy opportunities carefully. But felt like God was in this invitation. And partly it felt like He was in this invitation because my buddy kept sending me texts of how many turkeys he'd seen that day as he was out, walking the ranch. And so I'm like, okay, well, this sounds good because it sounds like a sure thing, right? It's not a setup for turkey. Yeah, we're going to get a couple turkeys. It'll be a blast. And so go down there. And honestly, he had been seeing groups of 25 to 50 turkeys a day.
Oh, wow.
50.
That's a lot of turkeys.
That's a lot of turkeys. And he would see where they were roosting at night. And so it just felt like this is just going to be a lot of fun and easy, right? So we go down there. We hunt 3 days in the woods, and we do not see a single turkey.
Not one turkey.
Not one. Like, we don't see 50. We don't see one. 3 days. And we're following all the patterns, and we're visiting the water holes and all that. Nothing. And we're calling turkeys in the woods and nothing. And as this began to unfold, like, wow, I had to really wrestle with well, Jesus, wait a second. What is this about? Like, I thought this was your invitation.
Yes.
I thought you were in this. I still think you are in this. I really do. I believe you were in this. And the fact that I had the weekend free and he had the weekend free and it was during the season and like there were so many things that kind of came together.
Right.
This felt like this from you, God. So what are you up to? Okay. Pause, which allows me to speak a little bit into what I think, quote, the journey of desire is. Early on in the awakening of our heart, and this may take place when you're 16 or this may take place when you're 67, but in that season of your life where God is trying to awaken your heart, to show you that your heart matters,
yes,
that he cares about the things you care about, what matters to you matters to him, as he begins to kind of awaken a person out of a life of simply responsibility or duty or rule keeping, or perhaps awaken them and invite them out of a Christianity that's just the rules,
obligation,
right? Duty and obligation, right? Faithfulness and obedience, which have their place. They, oh my, they have their place, but that's not all there is. And as Jesus engages, the two blind men on the road, and they were calling out, as he was passing by, and he comes over and he asks them, "What would you like me to do for you?" I mean, like, what? I mean, there's nothing more obvious than what they want him to do for them, right? But he asked them their desire before he just does it, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing with the man at the pool in John chapter 5, right? Do you want to get well?
Yes.
And then John chapter 7, he stands up at the feast and says, "If anyone is thirsty, let him come to me." I mean, so many different stories. God pursues our hearts by pursuing desire or the absence of desire, by pursuing hopes and dreams or the absence of hopes and dreams. And he'll often do it by speaking these words that we've been talking about, giving you a theme or a promise or an invitation. And I believe that's a very, very, very critical and beautiful season in our life. Like, he has your buddy come up to you at the conference back in January and say, "Hey, you want to come take a vacation?
Right.
By the sea, which you love." Right. And,
it awakens something.
The awakening, right?
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing. That's a really, really beautiful season. And it's not one that we go through once, but, repeatedly through the course of our life. But there's more. As God begins to awaken desire, what I don't want people to kind of misinterpret our message at Ransomed Heart as sort of an Oprah message of, just have big dreams for your life, and there's always more. And, it begins to sound, kind of like a prosperity gospel. It begins to sound like things we're not saying. What we are saying is that your hopes, dreams, desires, your disappointment, resignation, cynicism matters to God because your heart matters to him.
Yes.
And he does care about these things, and he is a good father that does give good gifts to us. But what was going on for me in the woods, I think, is the next stage of maturing in the journey of desire, because what I tend to get focused on is what God is not giving rather than what he is giving. Because what was going on is we were, on this turkey hunt, and we're in a beautiful section of Colorado, and it's open country and it's agricultural and there's wild lands. And I mean, simply to be there was an enormous gift. To get away from the computer screen, to get away from emails, meetings, phone calls, the demands of life, simply to walk in the woods.
Yes.
It was an absolutely phenomenal gift. But I couldn't even see that gift because I began to get really focused on what he wasn't giving. There's no turkeys here. Like, come on.
Right. Right.
And I was aware, I was watching how my heart was handling the awakening of desire, right? And then what I felt to be kind of the cheating of it or the disappointment of it or what felt like a promise not delivered or something along those lines, right? An opportunity missed or, wait a second, God, hang on. And wow, I really had to make a choice to rejoice in the gifts that he was giving, time with a friend.
Right.
How often do we get that?
Not
right?
much.
I mean,
Right.
casual conversation, great meals around the ranch table at night. And like, wait a second, there's a lot being given here. We're not shooting turkeys, but my goodness, there's all kinds of other gifts. In fact, one of the most disruptive gifts, our listeners who have tracked with my story at all, there's a lot of it in Wild at Heart and in other books, will recall that it was on my grandfather's ranch that so much of the wooing and romancing and redemption of my heart began as a boy with God, coming out of an alcoholic home and a lot of brokenness. That place, that was a sanctuary. That was where God did so much in my masculine journey. And then as an older boy, young man, a lot of validation, a lot of initiation took place there.
Yes.
So I had no idea where my buddy Jim lived. And as I pulled into the ranch that they're staying on, I just went, you got to be kidding me. Like it literally came out of my mouth. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, God. Because it looked like my grandfather's ranch. It smelled like my grandfather's ranch. Like the sights and the sounds and the aromas, like suddenly. Wow. And like that was the gift.
Yes.
Like that was phenomenal gift. To spend a weekend back in that?
Yes. That's so good because to me captures this whole shift between expectations and expectancy. Like God invites you there and the expectation is we're going to get turkey. It's a turkey hunt.
Yep.
And yet an expectant heart would say, God, what do you have for me? It helps us go, what do you have for me here?
Yes.
I'm not going to say it's one thing. I'm just going to be expectant on you.
Yes. Okay, Alan. So that's describing the shift that I think is really, really big in the, quote, journey of desire, the desires of your hearts, hopes, dreams, that kind of thing. I think God awakens them. And I think he fulfills them often. Kind of like a parent will do just, simple blessings and good things for their children. But there comes a point where God begins to shift the attention from the gift to the giver.
Yes.
Right?
That's so good.
From the gift to the giver. And it's not so much about, what are you giving today, Papa? What are you giving today? What's the gift today? As much as it's, where are you, Papa? What are you doing today? Where are we headed today? So what you were saying was from expectations to expectancy, right? And so here's what I had to do, like to get very practical in the woods, because we spent hours and hours and hours out in the woods and, you're silent. And I had to really begin to shift my heart and begin to say, Father, thank you so much for creation. Like, thank you for creation. Thank you for the absolute beauty of this place. Like, I rejoice in the gift of creation. And thank you for the gift of redemption. Like, thank you for the gift of my redemption, God. Like, my goodness, thank you that I am now reconciled to you and can enjoy this with you. Like, thank you for your love.
Yes.
And Father, thank you for the gift of future hope. Thank you for the gift of the coming kingdom. Because I know that even the best life is partial.
Yeah.
Right? And like, your health may be great, but your finances are bad. Or your finances might be fine, but your health is, or you may have a fantastic marriage, but you've got a kid that's breaking your heart. Like, everyone has the partial.
Yes.
Everyone does, no matter what their life looks like from the outside. Right? And so thank you for the coming kingdom. Thank you for the hope that these desires and aches in my heart will one day be totally fulfilled. All of it, God. And so I began to do that in the woods. Things really began to shift for me. And I began to notice things. I began to notice, wow, the wildflowers are coming up.
Yes.
Holy cow, it's early May. Isn't that a neat gift? Thank you, Jesus. And oh my goodness, look, I found a couple shed mule deer antlers, and I spend hours hiking in the hills looking for shed antlers, and here's a gift.
Yes.
Right? And so all weekend long, we did not see a turkey. It was not about the turkeys, but it was about what he was giving. And the shift in my heart to gratitude, to openness, and to be saying, okay, Jesus, I thought the weekend was about a hunting trip.
Yes.
But you want the weekend to be about other things. Help me shift there with you. And so here's what I'm describing in the journey of desire. It's not going back to resignation. It's not going back to abandoning desire.
Right.
Right? It's an open-handedness with it.
Yeah.
Right? It's being open to say, God, here's what I would love this weekend to look like.
Right.
But what do you have for me?
Well, your phrase, Papa, where are we going? Like, that speaks to my heart so much. My youngest son is 10, and anytime I jump in my truck, he wants to go. And what I love about him at 10 is he doesn't ask me where we're going, if I have enough money, if I know the directions, any of that.
Yeah.
He just wants to go and do. And it is that, Dad, where are we going today?
Yeah.
And to hold on to that. But my older kids now, they're at a stage where it's, well, it depends. Where are we going? And can we get ice cream on the way home?
Exactly. What are the conditions?
Right. So to hold on to that just expectant desire with our Father, I think that's huge, John.
And so, gang, this is what we meant by asking God for words over your life, over your year, maybe, or over your summer. And Stacy and I, a couple of weeks ago, talking about God knows what you need, asking Him what you need. Because in this journey of desire, as desire reawakens, as dreams begin to represent themselves, then we can get fixated on, well, that's it, and I'm chasing that. But that can actually break your heart. Like, you've got to be really careful with that, because what we need to be asking is, Jesus, where are we headed? What do you have for me today? What do you have for me this summer? Because if we'll walk with Him into those things, there will be joy.
Right.
There will be goodness. It may not look exactly like what we thought it would look like.
Or anything like we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there still will be goodness there. And so there's the awakening of desire. There's the awakening of our hearts, joys and hopes and dreams, and staying in that awakened heart, but then yielding those things. Not a return to cynicism, not a return to resignation, or just, frankly, what we're doing is we're just playing it safe when we get ourselves busy.
Right.
We're just keeping ourselves safe from disappointment.
Yes.
Right?
Totally.
Yeah. So not going back there, but with an openness saying, this is what I'd love to see happen. As you take your family on a vacation this summer, this is what I'd love to see happen, God. But what do you have for us? Like, you script the days.
Right.
Show us where the joy is. Right?
Right.
So, friends, just felt like that conversation kind of helps fill in some of what we mean as we've talked through the previous 3 episodes on asking God for words, and He knows what you need, and chasing joy, letting Him bring joy. Where are we headed, God? What are you saying? What are you bringing? What are you doing? What do you have for us? It's not the abandonment of desire.
No.
Right? It's an awakened heart that's in a posture of surrender and trust and staying close to God, because He knows this world can break your heart. Like, you've got to stay close to love, close to God, close to His counsel. And Jesus says in John 10, He says, my sheep hear my voice. They come in and out and find good pasture. Like, the condition for finding the good pasture is going in and out through Jesus, right?
Right.
Through His voice.
Right. John, what I thought would be cool too is for us to offer to all the listeners your book, The Journey of Desire, as a free digital download, and just let people who have felt something in them stirred in this conversation go deeper through your book. So,
as an audiobook, Alan?
Right. The audiobook of you reading. And we'll just have that free at ransomedheart.com. And the digital download will be no cost. So if you want to hear more, then check it out.
That's a cool idea. So wanted to offer that to you all here as we're moving into the summer season and good things that God has for each of us. You've been listening to the Ransomed Heart podcast with John Eldredge and Alan Arnold. And for more, we always invite you to come to our website at ransomedheart.com, or if you haven't yet downloaded the free Ransomed Heart app, super helpful resource. Our podcasts are on there. Video's about to be on there in the new upgraded app. Ransomed Heart TV's about to be on there.
Yes.
And prayers and blogs and all kinds of great things. So get the Ransomed Heart app.